รายการต่อไปนี้เป็นรายการทั่วไปสามารถรับชมได้ทุกวัย
เมื่อวันที่ 23 กรกฎาคมที่ผ่านมาแอนดี้ ลูวิสนักไต่เชือกระดับโลกชาวอเมริกันได้ทำลายสถิติที่ตัวเองเคยทำไว้ในการเดินไต่เชือกเส้นเดียวแบบไม่มีอุปกรณ์ช่วยหรือที่เรียกว่า Slackline โดยเดินจากดาดฟ้าตึก The Officers at Central World ไปยังชั้น 55 โรงแรมเซ็นทราแกรนด์ at Central World ระยะทางรวม 169 เมตรความสูง 175 เมตรใช้เวลา 1 ชั่วโมง 5 นาทีในงาน Resona Men Presents World Record Breaking Slackline Event ซึ่งสร้างความตื่นเต้นและความหวาดเสียวให้กับผู้คนที่ร่วมลุ้นในการทำลายสถิติครั้งนี้ค่ะ
I would just like to be able to give people inspiration by my own sport. This is what I do. And even though I could not walk the line in one go, I kept going with a smile because this is what I live for. This is my life and this is what makes me happy and I want you all to do what makes you happy.
สวัสดีค่ะถึงแม้ว่าคุณแอนดี้ ลูวิสจะตกจากเชือกหลายครั้งนะคะระหว่างที่เดินแต่ว่าทุกครั้งที่ตกลงมาก็สามารถที่จะปีนกลับขึ้นไปใหม่แล้วก็เดินไปจนสุดเชือกได้ในที่สุดนะคะวันนี้เราจะคุยกับคุณแอนดี้ ลูวิสค่ะว่าอะไรคือแรงบันดาลใจให้เขามาเป็นนักไต่เชือกเพราะว่านอกเหนือจากความบ้าระห่ำที่เราเห็นแล้วนะคะยังเป็นเรื่องเกี่ยวกับความตั้งใจการฝึกฝนแล้วก็การใช้ความอดทนอย่างสูงด้วยค่ะคุณแอนดี้จะมาเล่าให้พวกเราฟังนะคะว่าอะไรทำให้เขาท้าทายตัวเองได้ตลอดเวลาและอะไรคือบทเรียนของเขาจากการเล่นกีฬาเอ็กซ์ตรีมประเภทนี้ค่ะแอนดี้ ลูวิสเป็นแชมป์โลกกีฬา Slackline ชาวอเมริกันวัย 28 ปีด้วยประสบการณ์การเดินไต่เชือกมากว่า 10 ปีสัมผัสวินาทีเฉียดตายบนเชือกเส้นเดียวมากกว่า 100 ครั้งบนเส้นทางหลากหลายทั้งขุนเขาสูงชันอันตรายและตึกสูงระฟ้าตามเมืองใหญ่ทั่วโลกทำให้เขาได้ฉายาว่า Mr.Slackline
What is so fun about slacklining that you get so serious about it?
Slacklining is really fun because it allows my creativity to become kind of the art of what I do in slacklining. Because it's not just about walking the line or setting records. It's about kind of seeing something that's not there that could be there. It's about seeing 2 points and connecting the lines, connecting the dots. And it's awesome to have filled a space that once wasn't there. And you create something that's beautiful. And it's not only sport, but it's art.
How do you practice?
You practice slacklining by just doing it. It's about being a doer. You're out there doing the activity. And you step on the line and you may fall off. It takes a little while to learn, just like a language or a musical instrument. Anything like that, it takes practice, it takes determination. And slacklining is the exact same thing.
So for me or anyone interested in slacklining, how do we start?
So the easiest way to start is with just some simple ideas of the form of slacklining. So what you do is you start by standing on one foot on the slackline. You keep your hips and your shoulders in one square. So my hips and my shoulders make this square. Mm-hmm. And this square is what keeps you on the slackline. So you don't want your arms down, you want your arms up. And what we do is we actually take your elbows and you make them a little higher than your shoulder. So you end up looking like a monkey. And that's kind of the idea of slacklining. So
doesn't look that cool.
It doesn't look that cool, that's right. So you kind of look goofy, but that's kind of the idea. Slack life. Don't let things get to you. Just keep it slack, you know? So you stand on one foot and you learn to balance. Your chin is up, you're standing because you stand like this. A lot of people tend to want to look down and lean over, but you don't walk like this.
You'll fall, right?
Yeah, you fall over. You walk with your chin up, your shoulders back, and that's how you slackline. Chin up, shoulders back, square, hips square, left arm on the left side of the line, right arm on the right side of the line, and you learn to balance on one foot. You learn to look to your goal, which is the end of the line, but you have to learn to focus on the moment, which is hard.
Yeah.
You want
Sounds
to finish.
easy, but
you
it's
want to
difficult.
get to the end. You're focused so much on the end, but you can't get to the end without making every single step across the line. And that's the hardest part. So the basic form is a little bit of knees bent, elbows a little higher than your shoulders, you're square, and you're balancing on one foot. And then you switch feet. So I'm actually just switching feet. I'm not actually walking. I'm just switching feet. And that's what makes slacklining safe. You're not moving at a high speed. You don't have to set it super high off the ground. And when you fall, you put your foot on the ground.
That's all.
And that's all. And it teaches you. It teaches you so much to learn how to keep yourself safe. And once your line is this high, you set it this high, and then this high. Small, safe, easy steps.
Can I assume that you hurt yourself occasionally when you practice?
Slacklining is actually a relatively safe sport. It's unlike bicycling or skateboarding, where you're actually moving at a fast speed forward, where you can stop and fall and hit the ground. In slacklining, you're actually still. You just switch balance from one foot to the next foot, and you step in front of that foot, and you're not actually moving.
But you are above ground.
You are above the ground, but you know when you're losing control. And by knowing when you're going to lose control, you can prepare to land on the ground safely. So I've actually gone 10 years without injury. I've had very few injuries other than doing tricks where sometimes I'd land on the ground hard by doing backflips or doing big spins or things like that, where it's very technical slacklining, where you're not just walking. It's about doing very exaggerated movements that take a high amount of precision as well as practice. And those do have increased risk, but as a whole, slacklining is probably the safest activity that I do.
I'll try to believe you.
Yeah, you should.
Now the video clip that you did, the squirrel backflip.
Yeah.
Now that one, how do you practice?
Yeah.
The squirrel backflip is an amazing trick because it was the first really big movement on a slackline that was ever landed, where you do a gigantic backflip and then you make a grab while you're upside down.
Right.
And practicing that trick just takes a lot of repetition. You do a backflip over and over and over and over and over again. And eventually you learn that you have time in the air. And it's this moment that I've actually come to call the matrix, where you're in a different world. You're so focused that you actually slow down time and you can understand your awareness in the air. And I call that air-awareness. And when you're there, it's actually very easy to make these movements. You have a lot more time than you think because your brain is thinking faster. When you practice it, you practice jumping off the line first.
Right.
So you're on the line, you do the flip, and you land safely on the ground. And then slowly you bring that closer and closer to the line until you're landing with your legs on either side of the line, so that you get your timing, you get your placement, you get your orientation down. And then you move that slowly onto the line. So you flip and land on the line and it bounces you off. You flip, you land on the line and it bounces you off. And it's these steps. If you want to reach your goal here, first you get to here, and then to here, and then to here, and then to here, and then to here. And then eventually you reach your goal. But it's about continuing towards your goal. It's not about just reaching your goal. Your goal is at the end of the slack line, but you are on this end of the slack line. And it's one step at a time. It's about being able to embrace the moment. You have to be in the moment and controlled every step of the way to eventually reach your goal. So with the backflip, it takes many, many, many backflips to eventually land on the line and control it. And with the squirrel backflip, it was very perfect. It was the best backflip I had ever done at that moment. And it was very special to me because my father was actually watching. Oh. And you could actually hear him in the back of the video go, "Yeah, Drew." And that's just something I'll remember forever.
Yeah.